Howdy, and welcome to the Digestive System 1. This podcast will deal with digestive system processes. So the cartoon on the right, hopefully you've seen the previous two podcasts. You know that the digestive system consists of the GI tract, or the gastrointestinal tract, also known as the alimentary canal, plus the accessory organs that feed into the canal or the tract. So the digestive system, there are a lot of processes that are taking place. The digestive system provides energy. So when you eat something with carbohydrates in it, the carbohydrates are broken down and then absorbed into the bloodstream, and then the cells within your body can use the glucose that the carbohydrate was broken down into. Your cells can use the glucose to make ATP. The digestive system provides building blocks for making and repairing tissues. So when you eat protein, you digest the protein into the smallest form of protein, which is an amino acid. Then you can use those amino acids to repair your tissues. There's two subdivisions of the digestive system. That's the GI tract, aka the alimentary canal, and the accessory organs like the liver and the pancreas. These processes of the digestive system are performed in stages. So the first stage is when you ingest something. That means you take it into your mouth. And then once it's in the GI tract, whatever you ate gets digested. There's mechanical and chemical digestion. And then when you've mechanically and chemically digested the food that you ate into the smallest possible monomeric forms, then you can absorb it across the GI tract wall. When the material that you initially ingested makes it into the large intestine, you start compacting what's left over, so that the stuff that didn't get absorbed, and then the material that didn't get absorbed, of course, you excrete out through the process of defecation. The whole system is modal. That means it moves things along. So using a process like peristalsis, when you ingest food, the tube will move the material that you ingested along the length of the tube. And the digestive system also secretes things like enzymes and hormones. Motility and secretion then have to be controlled, and they are controlled by neural mechanisms. So the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Motility and secretions are controlled by hormones like gastrin from the stomach, and they're also controlled by paracrine secretion. So those are just molecules that are secreted from one cell and bind to the cell right next door. So paracrines don't travel like endocrine or hormonal secretions do. So in this cartoon, we're going to use it to look at all these digestive processes. So the first thing that you do is you ingest food. So if you look at the cartoon, you see at the top of the cartoon it says ingestion. That means you take things into your mouth. And then through the process of chewing, you are mechanically digesting things. So you're not, with mechanical digestion, you're not chemically breaking bonds. You're just taking a large foodstuff and making it into smaller things. So when you chew, when you do mechanical digestion, you're increasing the surface area. When you do that, then the enzymes can actually get to the molecules of the food that you ingested and begin the process of chemical digestion. So when you do chemical digestion, you're actually breaking covalent bonds between the molecules. So for instance, you're breaking bonds between a large carbohydrate. You're breaking those bonds to free glucose molecules. You need enzymes to do chemical digestion. And when you do chemical digestion, you're taking polymers like starch into monomers like glucose, for instance. Chemical digestion occurs everywhere except your colon or your large intestine. So again, Now we are looking at absorption, compaction, and defecation. So if you look at the cartoon and find where it says absorption in purple, that shows that you are in the small intestine. And you can see that the food stuff that was taken in, that was ingested, has traveled into the stomach, and once you get to from the stomach into the small intestine, you continue to chemically break down the thing that you ate into smaller and smaller parts so that you can actually absorb those small parts across the wall into the blood vessels. And you can see that in the cartoon where it says absorption. Right underneath that, it shows a blood vessel. So amino acids and simple sugars are being absorbed from the GI tract into the capillaries, and then fat, the fat monomers are absorbed across the small intestine wall into a lymph vessel that's called a lacteal when it's in the small intestine. Some monomers that get into the blood vessel, the capillaries, need transport carriers. Membrane transport occurs mostly in the small intestine, and that's where you're transporting the monomers like amino acids across the digestive system wall. Membrane transport, you need a membrane transporter, so you're selective for the substance that you transport. So if you transport amino acids, you're selective for that amino acid. Compaction and defecation, then, that's when you, if you didn't get absorbed, so you were food stuff and you were ingested, but you didn't get absorbed out of the tube and into the capillaries or the lacteals, then you stayed in the tube, you made it to the level of the large intestine, and you get compacted there, and then ultimately defecation ensues. So if you were ingested but never made it out of the tube, you always stayed outside the body in a sense, because once you go across the wall of the tube and into the capillaries, then when you're in the capillaries, when you're in the blood, then you're considered to be inside the body. So motility, if you look at the cartoon again on the right side at the top, it says motility / propulsion. So that's just movement. Includes swallowing, which another term for swallowing is deglutition. It includes peristalsis. And swallowing is a very complex process controlled by the deglutition center and the medulla, and it involves both skeletal muscle and smooth muscle cells, whereas peristalsis is just a general movement along the tube, and that's usually done using smooth muscle cells. So with your salivary glands and the other glands throughout the tube, you secrete into the tube about 7 liters of secretion per day. Mostly it's water, but some enzymes and digestive aids, for instance bicarbonate. And hopefully you remember bicarbonate from talking about acid-base balance. From the so a salivary gland is an accessory organ, and salivary glands, like I said, add to the secretion. The liver makes bile, the gallbladder stores the bile, and then the gallbladder releases the bile into the small intestine. And then the exocrine pancreas makes secretions, pancreatic secretions that we'll talk about in a lot of detail, that help digest carbohydrates and fats. There's also local cells along the tube, like goblet cells, that secrete mucus. So you can find goblet cells pretty much throughout the whole tube. And I think that's it.